Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for today's session, the continuation of the last year sessions of chapter 1 we had discussed. So today we will be discussing the first half of the chapter 2. So before we start the session, so we will begin with some prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. So we had discussed in the last session about the chapter 1. So how the chapter 1 is divided into 3 sections. And we had discussed in the first section how both the armies were described, and the blowing of conch shells happened and what reactions it caused in the opposing army. And in the section 2, we had discussed about how Arjuna asked Krishna to place the chariot in between the two armies, and Krishna very strategically places that in front of Bhishma and Drona, and Arjuna's reaction by observing the army on the Kauravas side. And then following to that observation of Arjuna on the Kaurava army, the section 3 talked about the reaction of Arjuna and his refusal to fight based on certain decisions or reasoning. So he gives compassion as one reasoning, sin and going to hell as another reasoning, destruction of the family dynasty, Varna Shankara as another reasoning. So like that, he comes up with many reasons. And finally, towards the end of the first chapter, he concludes by saying, I will not fight. So that's how the first chapter ends. Now, the second chapter, before we begin, the first section, because there are 72 verses, it is one of the longest chapters of the Gita, apart from chapter 18. So we shall be discussing the chapter 2 in 2 sections. So that means today we shall discuss only the first half. So not exactly 36, but 38 verses we will discuss. And these 38 verses can again be divided into 3 sections. The first section can be named as confusion and submission of Arjuna. So what is his confusion? What are all the thoughts going on in Arjuna's mind? Even although he ends the first chapter by saying he will not fight, but still he goes on reconsidering the decision that whether should he fight or not fight. And so what are the different thoughts that went on in his mind? And finally, what did he submit to Krishna? So the confusion of Arjuna and submission of Arjuna unto Krishna can be the caption, a suitable caption, and this can be seen in the verses starting from 1 to 10. So that is the section 1. And the verses starting from 11 to 30. So we will see how Krishna elevates Arjuna's understanding of the body and the soul, and he describes the symptoms of the soul, and therefore that can be called as Sankhya Yoga. So where Krishna is describing the different characteristics by understanding the deeper meaning of the soul. So and in the third section, so that is seen from 11th verse to the 30th verse. And the third section will be from verse 31 to 38. So these are the three. The third section can be named as prescribed duty of fighting. How Krishna encourages Arjuna to fight on the basis of religious principles, Dharma Yuddha. So on the basis of Dharma Yuddha, he encourages Arjuna to fight in the verses from 31 to 38. So these are the 3 sections that we will discuss for the day. So let us start with the section 1. In the section 1, as I said, confusion and submission of Arjuna. So this is the verses from 1 to 10. So let's look at the verse 1. So this is again, the Sanjaya is continuing to describe, as we had discussed in the chapter 1. Sanjaya by his divine vision that he was blessed. So he is explaining the live happenings of the Kurukshetra war to Dhritarashtra, who was blind. So Sanjaya is explaining that seeing Arjuna full of compassion and very sorrowful, his eyes brimming with tears, Madhusudana, Krishna spoke the following words. So when Arjuna said, concluded the first chapter by saying, I will not fight, now it was Krishna who is beginning to speak. So that is how in the text too you will see for the first time Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So here the Lord Krishna starts speaking to Arjuna directly by a form of chastising. He says, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anarya jushtam asvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. He says, how have these impurities come upon you, O Arjuna? They're not at all befitting a man who is knowing the progressive values of life. So that is where Krishna is using a very specific word here called as Anaryan, because Aryan means one who knows the way of leading a life based on spiritual principles, one who conducts his life based on Shastric principles, Dharma Shastra. So he is called an Aryan. So now Arjuna is supposed to be an Aryan. He is an Aryan because he conducted his life based on the spiritual principles all through his life. But suddenly he has started thinking differently. So therefore Krishna suddenly is chastising Arjuna that why are you behaving like an Anarya? So Arya is one who conducts his life as per spiritual principles, but here you are conducting your life as per Anarya. So whatever you have said, it is against the religious principles. So Krishna will prove that how he meant that. So that is where he is started chastising. In other words, Krishna is not at all supportive of the reasoning and the logic that Arjuna gives in the first chapter based on compassion or logic or whatever. So one by one he starts defeating that by his arguments and presentation. So there is much detailed explanation of what Krishna means in this verse. So we will not go into that. So further Krishna continues in verse 3. Do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of the heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. So if you see, Krishna is using certain specific words to Arjuna. Say for example, in this verse, he calls Arjuna as Parantapa. So the meaning of Parantapa is one who chastises the enemies. So indirectly he is trying to encourage Arjuna by saying you are supposed to be the chastiser of the enemies. And why are you behaving like this? And how have all these impurities come upon you? So in other words, because Arjuna was asking, so because Arjuna was asking that, how can I kill my own people and what happiness will it yield to me even if I win the unrivaled kingdom? So for all these things, Krishna is saying that you are a chastiser of the enemy, Parantapa, and therefore you should not abandon your duty. And then with this explanation, somehow Arjuna interrupts Krishna's words and then he starts speaking. He said, O killer of Madhusudana. So he addresses Krishna as Madhusudana. How can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? So Arjuna is using a very specific word here called as Pujar Arhau. So if you see the last line, Pujarha Arisudana. So because Krishna addressed Arjuna as Parantapa, so here Arjuna is addressing Krishna as Arisudana, O killer of the enemies, and again as Madhusudana, O killer of the Madhu. How can I try to kill or even offer a fight to people like Drona and Bhishma who are Pujarha? So which means they are worthy of my worship. So and as per Shastrik in details, if you see Mahabharata, he further describes that, even the superiors are not even supposed to be offered a verbal fight. So now what to speak of killing them? So this is completely against the principles. So even if they are treating us harshly, even if they are acting against religious principles, how can I be like that? So Arjuna is asking a very valid question. And then he goes on to say that it is better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though they are avaricious, they are nonetheless superiors. If they are killed, our spoils will be tainted by blood. So, in other words, in these verses, Arjuna is furthering the explanation that he had hinted in the chapter 1. So, he is further explaining that even if they are not as per Shastra or Dharma, then how can I lose my sense of discrimination? They are still Pujarhav, they are still worthy of my worship. So, I don't want to deviate from my duties. So, I still want to follow the principles, and it is better to live by begging than to fight them and kill them, because finally, even if I win a kingdom, the whole thing will be tainted with blood. So therefore, I do not want to do this. So actually, Arjuna had this fear of counteracting Bhishma and Drona. Not fear, but he didn't want to counteract them out of respect to his grandfather and the teacher. But somehow that did not come out directly in the chapter 1. So, but here, because of Krishna's strategic positioning of the chariot right in front of Bhishma and Drona, so Arjuna for the first time confesses this here, that it should not be done. So now one may ask, that is Arjuna right in this consideration? So because Arjuna was completely having confused about what he is doing, whether it is right or not right. But now when you refer to dharmic principles, even though a teacher is of a worshipable position like Govinda, but if at all the teacher has lost the sense of discrimination, or if the teacher has engaged in an abominable action, then the Shastra says he is fit to be abandoned. So, for example, we can see in the case of Bali Maharaj and Shukracharya. So, when Bali Maharaj was being asked for 3 steps of land by Lord Vishnu in the form of Vamana, so Shukracharya, being the guru of Bali, he already by his Divya Drishti knew that he is none other than the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So Shukracharya instructs Bali Maharaj not to go ahead. So, but then Bali Maharaj rejects the spiritual master. He says, it is you who have taught me that all that we have is nothing but for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Now, when that Supreme Lord is coming and asking me for 3 steps, and you are saying that I should not go ahead, so I feel that you have lost your sense of discrimination, and therefore I am abandoning you. So, this is how Shukracharya's words were rejected by Bali Maharaj, because he spoke against the Shastra. So similarly, in this connection here, although Bhishma and Drona were Pujarhav, but because they have sided with the evil-minded Duryodhana, so there is no harm in fighting them. So this is how Krishna will bring out as we further move in the chapter. So in other words, here if you see, in the next shloka, text 7, because of all these considerations, on one side, Arjuna is having the concept of duty. On another side, he's telling their puja how. So then one side is fearing, hell. So with all this, when he could not come to a proper conclusion, for the first time in the text 7, verse 7, he submits to Krishna. And how does he say? He explains, now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of my weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So, in other words, till now, Arjuna was talking to Krishna like a friend. So they both had a friendly relation, Sakhya Rasa, between them. So, and that's how Krishna also accepts the role of a charioteer. So Arjuna asks Krishna to place the chariot in between the two arms. So all the dealings till now was on the platform of friendship. But for the first time, Arjuna submits himself as a disciple. He says, Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. He says, I am a disciple surrendered unto you. Please tell me clearly what is best for me. So please instruct me. See, Shishyasteham, I am becoming your disciple now. So please instruct me. So, because Arjuna, why was he getting confused? Because he had many options. He was thinking many things were simultaneously happening in his mind. Whether to fight and kill them, then what will happen? Whether to fight and be captured by them, then how will I live? So, or to abort fighting and to go to the forest and live by begging. Like he says, it is better to live by begging in one of the previous verses. So, now if I fight and kill them, then I cannot enjoy, like he explains in the first chapter. So, what is the point? Or if I fight and kill them, then what will be the sinful reaction? It will be tainted with blood, the kingdom that I am going to get. So, or should I be agreed to be killed or captured by them? Or shall I just abandon this fighting because of my respect to my superiors like Bhishma and Drona? And can I go to the forest and live by begging? So, all these things, so it shows that how Arjuna was actually an Aryan. He knew the principles of life. He had a soft corner. And see, Arjuna was born in a very royal household. So, but the very fact that he is considering that he is okay to detach from all this and go to the forest and live by begging, it shows a certain sense of detachment. So, he's not attached to these things per se. So, like that, Arjuna's lot of qualities are glorified in Mahabharata. And so, with all these qualities, it is said that Arjuna was actually highly enlightened and he had complete control over his mind and senses. Even in such a disturbing scenario of a war, he had not lost his sense of discrimination. He could perfectly think of what is good, what is not good, what is the Dharma Shastra, what will happen if I do this. So, everything he had completely control over his mind and senses, and he was highly enlightened. So, unless, because the Shastra also says, unless there is sense control, so one cannot be elevated to the platform of knowledge. And without knowledge, then there is no question of liberation. So, Arjuna had control over his senses, and therefore he was a candidate who was fit for receiving knowledge from Krishna. So that is how in the verse 7, so the Lord gives him intelligence to surrender, because in each of our lives there is always perplexity. Just like Arjuna was facing this perplexity whether to fight or not fight and all these things. So Shastras explain we also have lot of perplexities in our life, and that is explained in two types by Shastras. One is, the Shastras say that there are three kinds of kleshas. One is Adhyatmik, Adibhautik, and Adidaivik. Adhyatmik klesha means those problems or situations that arise in our life because of one's own mind and body. And Adibhautik means the kleshas or the problems that come to us because of others. And Adidaivik klesha means those which are natural calamities, so which we call as acts of God. So there are all these three types of kleshas in each and every living entity's life. In each of our lives, we experience that. And that is also presented in a different way by Shastras, by saying that there is Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, birth, death, old age, and disease. So these perplexities are always haunting all of us like a forest fire. So, what is the forest fire? Forest fire, if you analyze, nobody goes to the forest to set fire, but it happens there by so many natural phenomena, by the air blowing, by the rubbing of the wood, because there is fire which is concealed in the wood, and many other reasons. So, Shastra says just like there is forest fire happening without somebody setting it, similarly, we all face all these perplexities of life, either in terms of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, or Adidaivik, Adibaudik and Adhyatmik kleshas. So the way for coming out of these perplexities of life is by surrendering unto a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of the Lord and who is coming in the bona fide disciplic succession. It cannot be any ABCD person who these days has become a fashion. So that's how we come across so many people, and we also frequently hear this term called as self-styled godmen. So it cannot be self-styled. So one cannot, ascertain himself as a spiritual master. So one has to come in the parampara. So then only he is a bona fide spiritual master. So unless we surrender unto such a bona fide spiritual master, we cannot come out of the perplexities of life, which is compared to like a forest fire. So just like Arjuna could not come out of these perplexities, although he was thinking so much. So of what is Nyaya, what is Adharma and everything. So he could not solve, he could not decide for himself. And therefore in this 7th verse, he submits to Krishna by saying, Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. So and then further he continues saying, I can find no means to drive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to destroy it, even if I win an unrivaled kingdom on the earth with sovereignty like that of the demigods. So he's basically continuing his submission to Krishna, that why he is so confused. And then Arjuna completes this, and then Sanjaya continues to explain to Dhritarashtra that having spoken like this, Arjuna, the chastiser of enemies, Parantapa, which earlier Krishna had addressed Arjuna as Parantapa, told Krishna that Govinda, I will not fight. So this is how Sanjaya explained it to Dhritarashtra, that Arjuna said all these things and he has decided now not to fight. And then, so now actually Dhritarashtra was a little more relieved at this point on hearing that Arjuna has decided not to fight, because he knew that his sons are on the side of Adharma. And if this happens, then they will definitely lose their lives. But then that happiness did not last for long, because Sanjaya continued saying that at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, started speaking to the grief-stricken Arjuna. So this is how we come to the end of section 1 in the verse 1 to 10, where we can see that how Arjuna had confusion based on the continuing from the first chapter of all the reasoning that he had given, whether should he fight or not fight, Pujara, Varisudana, they are worthy of my worship. So, and all that, and then finally he surrenders unto Krishna, and he says that, I do not want this fighting, even if I win an unrivaled kingdom with the sovereignty as that of the demigods. So he concludes like that. So now Krishna again starts speaking from the 11th verse. So this is where we come to the section 2, which can be named as Sankhya Yoga, and this will come from 11th verse to the 30th verse, as you can see in the Gita. So 11th verse, it starts with Bhagavan Uvacha. So the first of all, again, Krishna, when he starts speaking, he starts with a chastisement. He says, Ashochan Anvashochastu Pragnavadamsta Bhashase. You're speaking like you're a Pragnavadamsta, you're a wise man, you're a learned man. But what you're speaking, what you're mourning for, is not worthy of grief. So, because till now, when Arjuna was speaking to Krishna as a friend, Krishna also was kind of speaking to him on that platform. But now the relationship has changed. Arjuna has now submitted himself as a disciple, and he has accepted Krishna as the master, as the teacher. So, and the first duty of the teacher is to correct the student. So, just chastise not to hesitate to chastise the student when he is gone away from the religious principles. So accordingly, so Krishna begins by chastising Arjuna that while you are talking like a wise man, but you are lamenting for what is not worthy of grief. So therefore, in other words, Krishna is indirectly calling him a fool. So he didn't directly tell that. So he said indirectly, how did he say? The wise will not lament like this, but you are lamenting. So what does it mean? You are unwise, you are a fool. So Krishna started chastising Arjuna because Arjuna has already accepted him as the teacher or the master. So this is how the second section begins. So where Krishna is beginning to chastise Arjuna, and now he is also explaining the concept of the soul. So till now Arjuna was mourning on the basis of the body. So therefore Krishna is giving a hint that this is not worthy of grief. So now from the 12th verse onwards, he starts describing what the soul is. So then first he says, never was a time where I did not exist, nor you did not exist, nor all this, nor shall it cease to be in the future. So basically he's bringing in for the first time the concept of a soul or an anti-material body, because body is material. So he's now describing something what is anti-material. And if we, of course, because of the paucity of time, so we will just move on. In other words, here he is explaining the concept of individuality. So, and how different Katha Upanishad, Shweta Shvatara Upanishad, all of them describe about this. So, but we will not go into the details. And immediately in the 13th verse, he gives an example, because suddenly Krishna has now moved from body to a soul. The transition makes difficult for Arjuna to understand. So therefore, he is giving an example of how to understand what the soul is. He says, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tata dehantara praptis dhiras tatra namuihati. He says, just like a soul passes in this very body from small babyhood to childhood to boyhood, adulthood to old age. And similarly, at the point of death, it passes on to another body. So, but an intelligent person, a self-realized soul, dhira, he is calling the self-realized or a person of knowledge as dhira, tatra namuihati. He will not be disturbed by such a change. Which change? The change that is happening when the soul moves on from one body to another body. Just like the soul, the body has been always moving. The body is always mutating itself. It is changing from the baby to childhood to boyhood to adulthood to to old age. So similarly, it is also changing to another body. So, but intelligent people will not be disturbed by this change. So this is how he gives an example in the this verse, 13th verse, and then further he explains, just like there is non-permanency concept of seasons. So sometimes there is summer, sometimes there is winter. So similarly, there is non-appearance, non-permanency of happiness and distress, and one should not be disturbed by that. So he says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitoshna dukkadaha. Sitoshna sukha dukkadaha. Means just like sukha and dukkha, they are like shita and ushna, like summer and winter. So, but one should tolerate them without being disturbed. So he is sorry. So he is giving this example to bring out the concept of duty, which later again in the third section, 31st to verse to 38 verse, he will more highlight it directly. But here indirectly, he is telling what in the proper discharge of duty, if one has to experience certain material inconveniences, that you should not hesitate. Why is Krishna telling all this? Because Arjuna was hesitating based on certain considerations. So Krishna is giving an example here that you should, just like non-permanence, happiness and distress, non-permanence, winter and summer. So and then Prabhupada also explains in the purport that just like when there is Magha Masa, January or February, so a person of following religious principles is supposed to take bath. So a cold water bath, but he should not hesitate just because the external atmosphere is cold. Similarly, a woman who is cooking food in the kitchen, so cannot abstain from her duties just because it is hot. In the months of May, June, July, you'll see May, June, it's very hot. So, but then one cannot abstain, run away from his or her duties based on some external factors. So, therefore, he is bringing out the concept of duty here, and then he is also trying to indirectly give enthusiasm, encouragement to Arjuna by addressing him with two specific words. Just like here he says, Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya. So he's addressing Arjuna as Kaunteya because he's Kunti Putra. Indirectly, Krishna is telling you have a great heritage from your mother's side. And in the last line, you see, he's telling Tam Stitikshasva Bharata. So, O son of, O descendant of the Bharata dynasty, that means you have a great lineage even from your father's side. See how Krishna very subtly, he is reminding Arjuna of his great lineage, both from the side of mother as well as the father, Kaunteya and Bharata. So that is also kind of indirectly Krishna is telling him that you cannot resort to such impurities, anarya. So you cannot have all these adharma principles consideration. So in not fighting. So this is how Krishna is trying to encourage him subtly. And then here is also actually one more reason why Krishna is talking about happiness and distress is because if you analyze in the first chapter, Arjuna had also talked about happiness when he was giving different reasoning that what happiness will it be if I even win the whole kingdom. And even in this chapter, in the first 10 verses, you will see, so even if I have the sovereignty like that of demigods, so or an unrivaled kingdom, what is the use? What is the use of such happiness? Because it's tainted with blood. So now Krishna is therefore giving the reasoning that you should not be now considering about happiness or distress. So like that, every point that Arjuna had mentioned in the first chapter as well as the first few verses in the second chapter, Krishna addresses them one by another. So and then in the 15th verse, so he says that the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is suitable for liberation. So in other words, Krishna is telling that because he also had talked about achieving kingdom of heaven. So one will not get liberation, all that in the first chapter because of the concept of sin. So here again, Krishna is indirectly talking about that. So directly he will also address that towards the later part of this chapter. So but now indirectly is telling the person who is not disturbed by all this non-permanence, appearance and disappearance of happiness and distress, he is suitable for liberation. And then in the 16th verse, he's continuing to explain the difference between the body and spirit. So he says, those who are seers of the truth, that means Jnana Chakshusha, so who are self-realized, so they have concluded. So what have they concluded? The self-realized people, the people of knowledge, what have they concluded? Of the non-existent, there is no endurance, and of the existent, there is no cessation. So here you should understand that of the non-existent means matter. It is referring to body. So of the non-existent of the body, there is no endurance. And of the existent referring to soul. Of the soul, there is no cessation. So in other words, Krishna is now bringing out clearly the difference between the matter and the spirit. He's telling body, which is a matter, has no endurance. Means it will only stay for a certain frame of time. So whereas the soul, so which is existent, there is no cessation, there is no end. It will continue forever. So that is how Krishna is bringing out the difference between the matter and spirit. And he further describes in the 17th verse, know that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. Avinashi tu tad viddhi yena sarvam idam tatam. So we should understand that. So at this point, I think we can also a little bit understand what the soul is and what the Shastras is talking about. So further, of course, Krishna also explains in this same chapter that what is the dimension of the soul. In fact, sometimes we also wonder how do we understand the concept of the soul. So we always say that my soul. Actually, my soul is a wrong expression. So my body is the correct expression because we are the spirit soul and we have taken the body. It is not that we are the body and we have the spirit soul within us. So it's exactly the opposite. And what is the proof that there is soul within us? The very proof that we have consciousness spread all over the body. So very simple, if we see that whenever a person dies, so within a few hours, the body starts decomposing. So now why is it that the body till now for so many years it was staying active, but all of a sudden because of which phenomenon did the body start, starting to get decomposed? So that is because of the leaving of the spirit. And how do we know that spirit has left? Because there is no consciousness. While we were conscious, even a little spark of fire falling on the body, so we, experience a severe pain. So now the entire body is being set on fire, but nobody is shouting out of the body because the spirit soul has left. So the easiest way to understand perceive the presence of the soul is by understanding whether there is consciousness or no consciousness. If at all there is consciousness, then that means there is soul. So in fact, even in our normal day-to-day dealings, we always say he has passed away. So why do we say that he has passed away? Whom are we referring to? The body is lying right in front of our eyes. But still we say that he has passed away because so we understand that it is the soul or the spirit which has left the body. So that itself is a proof. So now, therefore, Krishna is telling that no one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. And then further in the verses 18 or 19, he continues the same concept of the soul. He says that he who thinks that the living entity is slayer or that he is slain has not understand. So, and then one who is in knowledge knows that self neither is slain or can slay. So, in other words, Krishna is telling that for the soul there is no birth or death. So, na jayate mriyate va kadachin, verse 20. So, now one may ask a question at this point. Now, if Krishna is telling that Arjuna, this is the concept of the soul, one cannot kill the soul. Soul is eternal. So, the body is anyway changeable. So, there is no problem. So, you can now go ahead and kill. So, now one may ask this question that can I also commit an act of violence and kill somebody and say that Krishna has told in Bhagavad Gita that is the soul. So why is that not okay? So here we should understand that it is the concept of the authorization, concept of the duty. Just like Srila Prabhupada gives an example that when a person who is not authorized to engage in acts of violence, if he kills somebody, then he is committed, he is penalized, he is punished both by the laws of the state as well as the laws of God. Now, but for some people, say suppose there is a soldier who is fighting the war and he kills lot of enemies on the war, in the war. So now the same laws of the state are rewarding that soldier. Why? Because there is authorization. So similarly, for anybody to engage in act of violence, there has to be authorization. And that fighting has to be as per the principles of justice, Dharma Shastra. Only then you are not touched by the results, by the sin. Otherwise, we will be affected by the sinful reactions. So this also gives an understanding that why we cannot, by our whims and fancies, engage in acts of violence and use Bhagavad Gita principle to say that anyway he is the soul. So I have not caused the destruction of the soul. I have only helped him change the body. So we cannot give this reasoning when there is no authorization. So, and now one may also ask a question that why is Krishna encouraging violence? So, Krishna is encouraging violence because there was, as we already discussed in the last chapter, so all other ways and means were tried. So, but nothing worked out. So, therefore, the war is inevitable. So, sometimes even in the Dharma Shastras, it is mentioned, Vedic scriptures, that when a person commits an act of violence or a murder, he will be given capital punishment. He will be hanged. So, and such capital punishment on the part of a murderer is only to benefit him so that he is not exposed to the punishment in his next life. So, therefore, Krishna, because he knew all these principles, and now why are Kauravas on the side of Adharma? Because they did not even agree to give even 5 villages to Pandavas who were dutifully, who were bound to get some share of the kingdom. So, therefore, because they have taken the side of Adharma, So therefore, Krishna did not hesitate to encourage Arjuna in killing the Kauravas. So, and Prabhupada also gives an example. Sometimes a doctor has to use a surgical knife, and a surgical operation may be necessary. Now, although it is sometimes externally painful, and you're cutting and opening the body, but that is not meant to kill the person, but that is meant to save the person. So similarly, a person uh, who is who has not followed the principles of dharma, by slaying such people on the authorization of the, so here Krishna himself is the supreme God, himself is the authorizing Arjuna. So therefore Arjuna didn't have to look for any other authorization apart when the Supreme Lord himself is authorizing him. So, and then further in the verse 22, he gives another example that as a person puts on new garments, Vashamshi Jirnani Yata Vihaya, Navani Grinanti Naroparani. So he is telling Arjuna that you do not have to lament so for the change of bodies, because till now Krishna explained that by this change of body, soul will go into another body and all that. So he is telling it is just like change of garments. So you don't have to worry about that. And then further in the verses 23 to 27 or 28, he goes on explaining the symptoms of the soul, that how it cannot be cut into pieces or cut into harmed by burnt by fire, nor moistened by water, and all these symptoms he explains. And in the next verse, 24th verse, he also continues saying that it's unbreakable, insoluble, cannot be burned, dried, everlasting, all pervading. So here you can see one interesting word in the verse 24. In the third line, Krishna says, Nityaha Sarvagataha. So Sarvagataha, so it is translated as all pervading. In other words, Prabhupada explains that Krishna, what did he mean by saying all pervading? The soul, the living entities are present on all planets. On every nook and corner of God's creation, there are living entities present. In other words, sometimes we keep wondering whether there is life on this planet, on that planet, or here, or in the Mars, or somewhere else, etc. So, but this verse of Gita is very clearly explaining that there is life in all the planets, because otherwise then there is no meaning to this word used by Krishna, Sarvagataha. So everywhere. So how can we understand? Very simple. Prabhupada gives an example, just like aquatics. So aquatics have been awarded a body which is suitable for living in water. So similarly, the Shastras give information that there are bodies which are suitable for living in a fiery environment. So, in other words, there are living entities living on the sun planet. So, based on our limited intelligence, we understand that yes, one cannot approach sun planet, will be burnt. But then, if the body, just like our body is predominantly made of Panchabhuta, predominantly earth. So, similarly, there could be bodies made of fire, there could be bodies made of air, there could be bodies made of water. So this is the meaning of Krishna saying that Sarvagataha. And then further he says how the soul is invincible, so invisible, inconceivable, immutable, and unchangeable. So therefore you should not grieve for the change of the body. So and then further he also concludes 26th, he says, however, if you think that soul is perpetually born and always then, still you have no reason to lament. So why is he saying this 26th verse? Because till now he explained the concept of the soul. So he is expecting Arjuna to understand that body is different from the soul. So therefore he did not worry. So but in the 26th verse he says, however, if you are not considering the concept of the soul, but just the body itself, but still there is no need for you to worry. And he is encouraging, he here again is addressing Arjuna as Mahabaho. So he is saying that you are a mighty armed fighter. And in this verse, Krishna is telling that you don't have a reason to lament, even if you think that soul is perpetually born and dying, because the concept he is indirectly explaining the conservation of energy. He further explains in the next verse also that how the law of conservation of energy is never created nor annihilated. It is only modified in different forms. That is how we read in the science. So similarly, now if you, very simple, if now I am sitting using this table is made from wood. So now tomorrow this table can be dismantled and that wood can be given another shape. So in other words, this body is made of matter. Matter will take another shape, another body. So even if you consider this as a body, still you do not have any reason to lament. Even science says our body is worth few dollars only. So there was an experiment which was conducted and it says that the chemical composition of bodies, it has certain traces of sulfur, phosphorus, calcium, so magnesium and other trace elements. So if you take the weight of these chemicals and then calculate the cost of those chemicals by this by the weight, so it doesn't even cost few dollars for our body. So what is the use of you considering this? So this is how Krishna tries to convince Arjuna basis the argument of soul. And then 27 and 28 verse. So in the 28th verse, that he is making it more clear, this concept of conservation of energy. He says all created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when they are annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? So this is the meaning he says. And then in the 29th verse, so he says that some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing. So Ascharyavat Pashyati Kaschitenam. So he is now telling that how this is a very amazing concept of the soul and the body. And in fact, when this particular word Ascharya is used, I also remember I usually frequently quote this to many people whom I meet. So this is a part of Mahabharata which is coming under Yaksha Prashna. So where Yamadharma Raja, who had come in the form of Yaksha, so he was asking this question finally after all the four Pandavas could not answer when Yudhishthira came. So he asked, what is the most surprising thing in this world? So at that time, Yudhishthira says, Ahani ahani bhutani gacchanti amalayam sheshastavaram icchanti kimascharya mataparam. He says the most surprising thing is about the soul, because we don't understand the concept of the soul and the body. Even though we see so many people are dying around us, so we still consider that we are eternal. All our plans are made to live for eternity. Now you may say, no, no, I understand, but then our life is not conducted based on these principles of non-permanence. Because if we understand that it is non-permanent, then we will not waste our life in the false pursuit of things which are supposed to be left along with our leaving of the body. So that is how Yudhishthira says that although we are seeing death all around us, we still feel that we are permanent. And this is the most surprising thing for me. So that is what it reminds me. And so finally in the 30th verse, Krishna says, O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body is eternal and can never be slain. So therefore, you need not grieve for any creature. So in other words, he's saying, indirectly giving that, sanctioning this act of fighting. So just like even sometimes people think that devotees means it should be non-violence, ahimsa. So, but then the Dharma Shastra also says that when there are aggressors who have committed aggression, then there is no harm in fighting those aggressors. So just like even Hanuman, so he burned down the entire Lanka. So that is because Ravana was an aggressor in kidnapping Mother Sita. So like that, here also the Kauravas had become aggressors because they had usurped the property which was rightfully belonging to the Pandavas, or at least they were deserving the share of the property. So therefore, Krishna is telling. So and then now that brings us to the end of the section 2. So where Krishna described in detail the concept of the soul and the concept of the characteristics of the soul and what are the considerations, whatever Arjuna had, indirectly he tried to address all of them. And in the third section, that is verse 31 to 38, as I said, Krishna is now giving the prescribed duty of fighting. So why he should fight as per the duty. So now he is bringing the concept of Swadharma for the first time in the 31st verse by saying that considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting. Why is he saying that there is no better engagement? Because earlier Arjuna had given an alternative. What was the alternative? He said, it is better to live by begging than fighting and winning an unrivaled kingdom with the sovereignty of demigod. So, therefore, Krishna is saying there is no better engagement for you as per religious principles. So, please do not hesitate in fighting. In other words, he is bringing out the concept of dharma yuddha. So, because he is sanctioning. So, and then in the 32nd verse, he is telling, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. Now, why is Krishna specifically telling that you should fight, and when you fight as per your swadharma, then the doors of the heavenly planets open to you? This is exactly opposite to Arjuna's belief system, what he quoted in the chapter 1. He said, by killing them, the doors of hell would be welcoming me. I may be overcome by the concept of the sin, so and I'll be going to hell. But Krishna is telling, no, when you are engaged in swadharma, you are not going to hell, but you will be going to heaven. So how Krishna is bringing out all these principles verse by verse. And then further, he says, if however you do not fight this religious war, then you will certainly incur sin for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Exactly opposite of what Arjuna thought. Arjuna thought, by engaging in this warfare and killing my relatives and 10 grades of relatives that he had mentioned, well-wishers, grandfather and brother and so many things that he mentions, 10 grades of relatives in the first chapter. So now Krishna is telling, rather, if you do not fight this war, then you will certainly incur sin. So therefore, and he's also telling that you lose your reputation as a fighter. What was Arjuna's reputation? Arjuna had won Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva had blessed him with Pashupatastra. And even Dronacharya, his teacher, was so very impressed with Arjuna's fighting skills that Dronacharya had blessed Arjuna with a weapon with which he could even defeat his own spiritual master. So that was the way by which Arjuna had impressed Dronacharya and Lord Shiva. So that is the reputation. So now Krishna is reminding all of that in a single word by saying, rather, if you neglect your duty to fight, then you will not only incur your sin, but you will also lose your reputation. And then he continues by saying, people will always speak of your infamy. For one who is honored, dishonor is worse than death. So Arjuna had again told in the first chapter, what is the use of enjoying a kingdom which is tainted with blood? So I may not even enjoy the spoils of this kingdom. So then Krishna is telling, if you are okay, that is your consideration, but for a person of your caliber, who is so famous as a fighter, now if you do not engage in your swadharma, so then the dishonor is worse than death for people like you. And so then he continues, and then he will also say that they will not consider your compassion, because Arjuna had also quoted the grounds of compassion. How can I? He had also told, even if they are engaged in the activities of fight, I should not be doing it as a man of discrimination. So, but Krishna is now countering that argument by saying, if you leave the battlefield, they will say you have left out of fear only, and they will consider you a coward. So they will not, give any value to you. Laghavam. He uses a word, you will be considered as Laghavam. So, and then your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful to you than this? So, and then 37 he says, either you will be killed on the battlefield or attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up and fight with determination. So, all the three considerations that Arjuna began this chapter with, whether I should be fighting, or whether I should abandon the fight and be conquered by them, or should I resort to the forest for begging. So all these considerations, now Krishna is breaking all of them and saying, so don't worry. Yes, when you fight now, do your swadharma, you may emerge victorious or you may not emerge victorious, doesn't matter, but get up and fight with nischaya. So Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, with determination, please fight. And then he says, do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness and distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. and by doing so, you shall never incur sin. So that is where even in Shastras there is a verse, it says, Devarshi Bhutapta Rinam Pitranam Nakinkaro Nyayam Rinicha Rajan. It says, one who is executing the orders of Mukunda. So Gato Mukundam Parirutya Kartam. One who is following the orders of Mukunda, Krishna, then he need not worry about all other duties, all other things. He just has to follow that, and he will never be considered or a debtor or an obliged in any other aspects of the duties. So therefore, Krishna is giving a hint that do this fighting because I am instructing you. So because Arjuna has accepted Krishna as the teacher, as the spiritual master, telling do not consider all the results, whether happiness, distress, victory, defeat, and all that, and never consider the aspect of sin also in the unavoidable discharge of the duty. Again, here the duty or the authorization is important. It cannot be done whimsically or based on our whims and fancies. So this is how the section 3 comes to an end. I think because the second chapter is quite big, so as I mentioned earlier, we will do it in 2 phases. And now it's already 7:55. So before we conclude, as I had mentioned last time also, that the easiest way of realizing all this, yes, whatever we are understanding now is jnana. So that is the knowledge, the transcendental knowledge. One of the easiest way to realize this transcendental knowledge is by chanting the names of God, especially in the Kali Yuga. So no other means is far effective. So because just by understanding today now whatever half an hour, 1 hour we hear, this concept will not become wisdom. You might have understood with our intelligence intellectually, okay, something today I understood, okay, this is the meaning of soul, okay, these are the reasoning, this is how Krishna is counteracting. Now, but if this has to translate to Vijnana, wisdom, that means if your vision of life, perspective of life has to be based on these principles, then we have to do something very practical. So, and that practical form of execution of yajna is described as chanting of the names of God. So, I request all of you to chant with me 108 times for the next 7 to 8 minutes. And I will be chanting it a little louder so you can all sync with me and chant this Maha Mantra. And it gives you a lot of strength to understand these things. Without chanting, if you read Bhagavad Gita, it's very difficult to understand. So, because of the paucity of time, I can't go into details of how chanting will help. But I request everybody to have faith in this process and take out another 7 minutes time, although we are out of time. So 7 to 8 minutes of time and chant with me, which will be a lot beneficial to all of you. So we'll just chant this mantra now. So please repeat after me. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So now we will chant together the Maha Mantra 108 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining me. I think because we have already overshot by 10 minutes, I will not be having any questions taking now. I although thought that I should try to close by 7:45, but I will not be able to do justice to the explanation. Even now, I had cut short all the other explanation and examples and stories and so many things I wanted to say, but given the fact that we have 1 hour to cover this many verses and which is philosophically very overloaded and all that, so I will not be taking. But however, this recording will be available to you later also. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to either WhatsApp me on my number 9379464316, or you can even mail them to me at acrd hkmmp.org. So that is my email ID. And for those of you, if you have already posted any questions today in the comment section or anything, I will get back to you on them. So thank you all for joining. And in the next week, we will cover the part 2 of the second chapter of the Gita. Thank you. Hare Krishna.